We can seize the joy of the moment, the peace, the love, the wisdom, and the understanding of the personality we call Clyde Redmond. An individualized, concentrated essence of God here with us until recently. Here with us in memory, always to cherish. Clyde was one of those people that always had a story. I heard some wonderful stories from the family on Tuesday. And I know we each have our own experience of the wonderfulness that was Clyde Redmond to share. And I'd like to invite you up. I'm going to tell my story first. Last time Clyde was here, somehow we got on the subject of visible panty lines. Clyde brought it up. And Clyde had noticed that every lady in the congregation had visible panty lines that day. So Clyde was very much alive, alert and aware, very much the facetious, the playful, and yet the wise. And we all loved him. We would like to start out with reminiscences to share.
When I was, I'm one of the ministers that come here and rotate. And when we were at the 301 church one time, I was talking about how everybody, when they come in, they usually sit in the same seat. You know, just common nature and stuff. And so Clyde came up to me after the service, and he said, because I said, next time you come, why don't you sit in a different seat, just to shake it up a little bit. And he came up to me and he said, I'm not going to sit in another seat. And I said, okay. And he says, do you want to know why? Well, I guess. He says, well, it's all about the air conditioning. I have tried every one of these chairs, and it's that one right there that gets the best air conditioning. So I'm like, okay, Clyde, I understand. And so every time I would come back, we would have a conversation about the air conditioning in that chair. So when we moved over here, and I came over, the first time I said, Clyde, how's it going? Did you find your chair? He's like, yeah, it's right over here. I've tried this one, and I've tried this one, I've tried this, but this is the right one. So we'd always have a conversation about the air conditioning in the chair, because it was very important to Clyde. So last time I came here was just in August. I saw Clyde. I said, Clyde, how's this going? He says, not so good. And I said, well, why not? He says, I can't find my chair. I said, what do you mean? He says, they don't have any good air conditioning in this chair, in this place. I've tried that one, and I've tried that one, and I've tried this one, and there's no good air conditioning. So I came in today, and I sat in the fourth chair right down there, and the air conditioning was blowing so hard on me that I decided that that's Clyde's new chair. So it's right there next to you, Barb, so go for it. Thank you.
Everyone knows I'm Don except the family and the friends of the family. Very sorry for your loss. Clyde to me was very special. I've known Vicki longer than I've known Clyde. Vicki was here first, and then Clyde suddenly came along, and we, not that we disliked each other, we didn't get along real good. And then all of a sudden, Clyde and I started talking one day, and it was like he became family to me, very tight. And every Sunday when I saw him, I would say, Clyde, are we going to play golf today? And Clyde would look at me and say, nah. He says, that game's too easy. I don't like it. It's just too easy. So I was trying to think of an epitaph for Clyde, And I would have to say that somewhere it would say Clyde always gave more than he asked for. Thank you.
To me, Clyde is not just a very good friend, also my brother, as far as I'm concerned. And that's come about primarily because we've been going over to their house, to Vicky's and Clyde's house, and having a discussion on a book. Well, one week, not too long ago, in the discussion, I was querying about how we should react to insects. You know, they come into the kitchen and they invade it. Do we go ahead and kill them all, or what? They are a living being after all. So the next Sunday, he came up to me just outside the doors there, and he said, "I've got to tell you something. I haven't told a lot of people, but I've got to tell you this. And I have to apologize to Vicky in advance because Clyde told me this." And it's an experience that he had that really shows the intelligence of insects. He was working on a building site, and there were no toilets. And he had to relieve himself during the day. Oh my, he had to relieve himself. So he went out to the back to see if he could find a place to do that in private. And the only place he could find was, there was an anthill there. And so he relieved himself onto that anthill. And he did this for a couple of days. On the third day, he stood in the same place every day to do this. And on the third day, he just started to relieve himself. And he found the ants crawling up his legs and biting him. And he looked down and he saw that there was no trail from the anthill to him. Where were they coming from? And he looked a bit closer, and there was a little hole just right where he was standing. And the ants had built that in those 2 days from that anthill to him. He said there was no hole there before. The ants had never bothered him before. But in 2 days they learned that he was doing the damage to them and got their revenge. Clive is, when you get to know him, a very, very humorous person and a very spiritual person. He loved what he learned about God and about life, and he loved his family very much. And I can only thank Clive for allowing me into his life for the short period I've known of him. And I'm sure you all feel the same way. Thank you.
I'm Fred Potter, and I used to work with Clyde back in the 50s at Lewis Lumberyard. And sorry for your loss, Clyde. He was a wonderful man. He was like a brother to his father boy. But Clyde, he took me out sailing one day. He was going to teach one of the Potter boys how to sail. You know, I didn't know where to stand, where to sit, or anything. Next thing I know, I'm in the water. You know, Clyde, I always loved to hear him say my name. He was a Georgia cracker, so was my daddy. And it'd take him 5 minutes to say my name. Freddie. He says, "I told you to stay in the boat." And we had another episode like that. Clyde was an explorer. You know, he liked to go different places, and he had that canoe, and he wanted to go up the Withlacoochee River. And for us to find this lake up there called Crystal Lake. So we loaded up and everything. We were going to camp a couple of days.